Hey, what's up, Reefers? Today we're going to talk about the 45-gallon tank and the things that's happening to it. There's a really exciting update, but I'm going to save it for a little bit later since it's going to be a little bit more long-winded. So before we talk about the 45-gallon tank, I want to tell you a little bit about the Reef Jar first. There's simply too many tanks going on, and I was disappointed by the aquascape in the Reef Jar. Honestly, it's not that bad, but the fact that it's so different from what I imagined, I thought I would just pull the plug because I feel like I lost the passion. Let me explain. So here's the Reef Jar for the Rico Nano Tank Challenge. Basically, everything is modified, ready to go. See right there, there's a little notch right there. That's where all the wires go in, as well as air hose. And of course, what happened? What happened? Damn, Emily just cut herself because she got distracted by how awesome I am. So let's take care of that first.
No, dumbass, take a pills!
Anyways, back to this. So in terms of equipment, it works totally fine. It's being powered by the Z-Light, UFO light, plenty of light for these Reef Jar. Now the issue comes when I started adding the rock in there. If you've been following this channel, you know that originally it's like a two-headed rock. It's like a really nice piece of rock. Before I added water, it looks perfect. But as soon as I added water, everything got so magnified. It just looked so crowded. I hated it. I was so discouraged that I kind of just left the jar alone for about a month and just let the water cycle and whatnot. I just didn't want to touch it. And then one day I was like, you know what? I can't just like leave this alone here. I gotta do something with it. So I decided to swap the rock out, which I should have done a long time ago. So I swapped the rock out, I put it in, but it just does not feel the same. I guess I just kind of lost momentum while I was just letting the Reef Jar kind of sit there while I kind of figure out what to do next. And during that time, I accumulated a lot of tanks. For example, we still got the 45-gallon tank right there. We got the planted tank behind Emily right there. And of course, right now, we got the big 150-gallon tank right there. And now you guys can see that I'm actually wearing boxer while I'm talking to you guys. So I'm slowly shutting down the Reef Jar. For example, I already repurposed the air pump to the Axolotl tank that now I'm about to show you real quick for a little bit. So what exactly are these Axolotls? Well, these are really interesting amphibians. Basically, if they lose a limb or anything like that, they can grow right back. Even partial spine, they're able to regrow off those. So it's really impressive. Scientists are studying them, I believe, for Alzheimer's. But look at this little guy. So we got two guys right here. This guy we call Xiu Long Lui, based off of a Chinese martial arts novel. Is really popular called San Diu Haplai, Return of the Condor Hero. This particular one is genetically modified to glow under blue lights, similar to the glowfish. And let me show you, I got the castle. Actually, this is a Miss Average Reefer's castle that we kind of repurposed it here. I'm turning on the blue. So you will see she, although we don't know the gender for sure yet, will glow like a bright green. It's really cool. Look at this. And also she is really friendly if you have not caught that already. I'm sure she's just associating people with food, but she would also always like swim up right to the front of the glass and just kind of ham it up for food. And right here that's swimming up to her is actually the newer edition. And we call him Yuan Guo, also named after one of the characters in the famous novel. You see that he has some kind of metallic color or texture on his skin. But the really sad thing about this little guy is that when we first got him, right, he was actually missing all of his limbs. And that is because Axolotl actually goes through a cannibalistic stage when they were young, right? If they're all kept together, they would mistake each other for food and just kind of like chomp on each other's limbs. So unfortunately, Yuan Guo's limbs are all missing when he came back, or when we came back home with us. But as you can see, they all grew back. Some of them are still a little small, but they are growing back, so that is the good news. So we've been feeding them black worms because they're still pretty small. We'll eventually transition to earthworms. They have really poor eyesight. Here you go, buddy. There you go.
Mac wants some too.
Oh no, Mac, you don't want this.
It's so cute.
Here.
So too
Oh, just ate off them. Crazy. Okay, so Mac, what are you doing? You want some too?
So cute.
Okay. Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, here.
Yeah. Chị dặn Mac.
Alright, so I guess that's enough Axolotl for today. If you're interested in seeing more of these guys, leave a comment, let me know, and I may do a video just on these guys. Or just follow me on Instagram at Inappropriate Reefer because I share updates on these fellas pretty frequently on my Instagram. Alright, off to the 45-gallon tank. Alright, Reefers, now let's get into the 45-gallon tank update that I mentioned. Today we're mainly going to talk about the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone. So if you look over here, this is actually the clone. There was actually a huge one that occupied this entire space. As you can see, it is gone now. I actually gave it away to Mighty Nano Tank after hearing that he has been looking for Rose Bubble-tip Anemone.
Flashback. Wow, you are very hands-on, monkey.
You just gotta go for it, man.
It's giving me like
wait. Choices. Alright, which one do you want?
I'll take the smaller one.
Okay, you sure?
I think so.
You sure?
Why are you Which one do you want to get rid of?
Either one. I mean, I just need that space up, free up.
Really?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes, either one.
Alright, if that's the case, I'll take the bigger one.
Okay, let's see if we can come off easily first.
Because you know why?
Why is that?
This way I could tell Natasha that I need a bigger tank.
So the reason I gave away the large Bubble-tip Anemone is because I'm trying to make room for this Setosa. Well, obviously it's not this Setosa. It's actually a Black Widow Bubble-tip Anemone. Isaac from Wildmess posted on the buy sell forum saying that he's trying to sell a Black Widow Bubble-tip Anemone for 50 bucks. That is a tremendous value, and I immediately jumped onto it. And when I met up with him, I thanked him furiously, saying that, dude, this usually costs so much more, thank you so much. And he was like a super nice guy. All he wanted to do is just kind of propagate and spread different corals among the club. Man, I forgot how difficult it is to film solo. Okay, so in terms of placement, I like to place the new Bubble-tip Anemone like kind of in the midway of the tank, ideally in some kind of crevice, a hole, and just kind of let him walk his own way up. So I think right here is probably perfect. I also shut off the main water circulator, which is the gyre, so that the flow is low. That will give the Bubble-tip Anemone a chance to kind of settle in. And right there, you see it's kind of midway in the rock structure, so it's not too far up, so it's not blasted by light. Because it's coming from a T5 environment, man, that red is intense. So here's a different view. We got the Rose Bubble-tip Anemone right there. We got the rainbow that lost its color up here, although it's getting some speck, which is kind of weird because usually it's the wild caught, the newly imported wild caught that got the speckles. And of course we got the Black Widow right there in the middle, and we're gonna check back in a few, maybe like half an hour or so once it's settled in a little bit. Alright guys, since we are looking at the 45-gallon tank, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the coral update as well as we wait for the Bubble-tip Anemone to kind of get acclimated. So as you can see right here, we got some of the corals and plants from the drop-off tank that I shut down last week. These are the fat dendril. They remain open in the 45-gallon tank, so the water in the 45-gallon tank must smell really good or really bad. And here's the kryptonite candy cane that has gotten really large. It has finally formed the hemisphere. So this is looking really nice. I'm getting ready to frag it up a little bit because it's getting a little bit too large, and the ones at the bottom is probably not getting any light. And over here is actually something that I'm really surprised is doing well. This is the red mackerel that was at the bottom of the drop-off tank. It was not doing that well down there. It was turning semi-transparent at some of the points, and some of the chunks are falling off. But it has really kind of reinvigorated itself, and all the transparency is gone, all the branches become really beefy, so that is a really good sign. So these are the corals that came from the drop-off tank, and of course the finger leather came a little bit earlier, also from the drop-off tank. The reason I moved it a little bit earlier is because the zoas are closed up. I thought maybe it's the mucus or the toxin that the leather put into the water. It's really mild for coral warfare, so leather may have a tendency to do that. So I moved it here thinking that maybe this is what's causing the zoas to close up in the drop-off tank. But of course, as all of you guys know, it's actually the elevated phosphate that causes zoa to close up. Alright guys, so this will do it for the 45-gallon update for today. There are still quite a few things I want to talk about. I actually want to tell you a little bit about the 150-gallon tank, but I just don't have the energy. I'm just drained physically and mentally. Hopefully after a good week of rest, I will be back normal next week. Thank you for hanging out. I feel like this video dragged a little bit, If you actually watch it to the end, thank you so much. You guys are indeed the hardcore reef squad. I have not done this in a while. Yeah, hopefully next week will be better. Hope you guys got a good week. See you then. So I pulled out the remaining blue shrimp. There's 5 of them here. They're pretty large, and I'm gonna give them to my friend who already has a batch of the babies.